Alrighty. Hello, everybody. My name is Brittany, and I am APSIA's Constituent Relations Coordinator. Welcome to the APSIA Advisor webinar on the Public Policy and International Affairs Programs Junior Summer Institute. I want to thank the PPI team for joining us to speak to the PISA network today about the JSI. And at this time, I would love to just pass it over to Esteban to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Esteban Delgado. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the executive director of PPIA. Have been in this role for almost a year, so we haven't met yet, or if this is the first time that you're seeing me, I just want to say hello, and I'm super excited that you are all on our call today. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my slides. But today we are going to be talking about the I just want to make sure, Brittany, we can see the slides. Cool. Always got to ask because, there's always time or, for a Zoom snafu. So today I'm really excited to talk about our undergraduate fellowship program and also some of our other experiential programs over here at PPIA. And before we jump in, I just want to ground all of us in the mission and the vision of the work that we do over here at PPIA. I think it's really important to consider what we're doing in the world and why we do it. And I think that we have a really great call to action, especially given the historical and political context that we live in today. So our vision is a thriving and equitable world uplifted by visionary, inclusive, and compassionate leaders. And we do that, we cultivate, right, this next generation of diverse public service and international affairs professionals by investing in their education, their essential skills and networks so that they can impact domestic and global change. So what is the current state of the work that we do? Why is this work still important? I think it's really important to recognize that higher education, right? There's always been a gap in higher education for those from underrepresented and oppressed backgrounds, and organizations like APSIA we work with to ensure that we are cultivating that next generation of leaders who can help us to overcome this gap that we currently see in the ecosystem. But what does that current state of that gap look like? So of those with undergraduate education, we see, and this is high level representational, this slide really focuses in on some seen demographics, but as we know, representation is both seen and unseen. But just to give us an idea, of those with the undergraduate education in the United States, 28% of those are Black and 28% of those are Latina or Latino. In 2021, 1.1 million students earned a graduate degree or certificate. And we saw from that pool that just over 50% were white and just under 30% were BIPOC or students of color. So we recognize that there's this gap for students from these underrepresented backgrounds, not only in undergraduate education, but also in graduate education. But I also think that this gap becomes a bit more entrenched when we look at what students are going to do once they leave graduate education, what we hope they do in the field or for the ecosystem. And when we look at individuals who are at those top levels of public or international affairs of public service, we see that there are only 4 states that have governors who identify, those individuals identify as a person of color. 87% of all nonprofit and foundation executives are white. So myself included, I'm one of only 13% of nonprofit or foundation executives that identify as a person of color. And when we look at those that are representing our communities and our states in our nation's legislature, we see that 64% of House members and 72% of senators have graduate degrees. And so we see that there's this kind of unspoken curriculum, right? That a graduate education is what is needed to pursue some of the most elite levels of representation or offices in our country. Not only that, but if you're a person from a background that you feel like has been left out of that conversation, the education gap there is also something that a lot of us have to overcome, and are constantly looking for individuals right in the community to help be those sponsors and those advocates for us to ensure that we are able to give our nation the representation that it deserves. So what is our theory of change? Well, since 1980, PPIA, the Public Policy and International Affairs Program, we've envisioned a just and liberated society characterized by inclusive social systems that work for everyone, right? We work to achieve this vision by supporting courageous leaders to create and make courageous change. That's how we think we are actually going to drive progress in our country. That's how we ensure that our democratic institutions have more integrity and also that they have more respect so that they can continue to prosper and thrive. So through our key strategies, PPI supports those that have, as I said, been traditionally left out of the conversation. So these include individuals who identify as people of color, individuals that identify as queer, that identify as differently abled, low income. And additionally, we support immigrants or children of immigrants and others of diverse lived experience that have been historically left out of these key representation roles to access public service education, careers, and networks. One second, I just want to make sure. So one of the questions that we get a lot over here at PPI is how do we define public service, right? There's a lot of times students that go into public service or international affairs degrees and then might end up working in the private sector, which is totally great. We need change to happen from all sectors and definitely from within institutions that have historically driven progress and change in our country. But what we're really seeking to do is to impact the social sector. And so we really take our definition of public service from the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And so you'll see that our language here closely mirrors that language. So we're seeking for individuals who want to be engaged in activities or careers that contribute to the public good and the betterment of society. So this encompasses various sectors, including government at the local, national, federal, or tribal levels, nonprofit organizations, and other public institutions. So really kind of thinking anything that might have a .edu, a .org, email or a URL link, or any kind of organization that might be have a 501c3 status. And so examples of public service careers can include policymaking, advocacy, community organizing, public health initiatives, public education initiatives, working in the social services, working towards environmental conservation, and then also those that are looking to be in foreign service and either as analysts or foreign service diplomats. And again, these are just some examples of some of the great things that our alumni go on to do. Here at PPIA, our signature program is the Junior Summer Institute, and that is something that I'm going to talk about in depth today, but just wanted to let everyone know that we do have wraparound programming and services for our alumni network, which is now over 6,000 strong. And so when you think we've been around since 1980, and so we have an amazing alumni base that we look to support and work with as well. But in terms of our programming, in addition to our signature program, we have wraparound programming, which includes our annual Public Service Expo in Washington, D.C. We just completed that expo in DC here this past July. We had over 500 students register to come through and learn more about the graduate schools and the employers that we work with to get our representative students into public service. We host public service weekends, which are 3-day mini conferences for students that are looking to learn more about public policy, international affairs, and get the sense of what it could be like to be studying one of these topics or a subset of these topics at a graduate institution in the United States. And then we also provide webinars on essential skills like how to best apply to graduate school. What should I include in my personal statement? How can I negotiate my offer either to an organization or to a graduate school? So we want to be there. We want to be the one-stop shop for our students, for our alumni, not only when they're going through the fellowship, but also when they are alumni of the program and when they are seeking to either go into public service or to pivot their careers within public service as well. So now I am going to dig into the PPI Fellowship. So this is our signature program. The PPI Fellowship, we are a national program for undergraduate juniors from backgrounds underrepresented in public leadership, preparing for graduate school and careers in public and international affairs. We're looking for those students that have just completed their junior year. So these are students that are prepping for either their final semester or their final 2 semesters in undergrad. But we really want them to apply the fall before, and we'll get more into the application process here soon. The PPI Fellowship is a rigorous 7-week summer program of classes and co-curricular activities to promote personal and professional development. And this is known as the Junior Summer Institute. So all of our PPI fellows, once accepted into the fellowship, they will study over the course of the summer at one of our host sites that we partner with to offer the Junior Summer Institute. And I'll talk a little bit more about those sites in a second. But during the 7 weeks, it's really a great opportunity for these students to convene and to connect. Sometimes this might be the first time students are getting to convene with others who may have seen and unseen identities like them, who are just as passionate about being a representative voice in public service, and then also looking to affect change and domestic and global change. And so it's a really great opportunity for students not only to convene, but also to learn. And so the coursework included as part of these 7 weeks is to ensure that students at the end of the fellowship program, at the end of the summer, at the end of their Junior Summer Institute, that they are graduate school ready. And so this includes coursework in economics, statistics, policy analysis, policy writing, public speaking, and group projects to ensure that students have a sense of not only the skills needed, but also the qualitative and the quantitative knowledge needed to successfully succeed in graduate education. Currently, we work with 6 different university partners to offer the PPI Fellowship at the Junior Summer Institute sites. And these sites include Carnegie Mellon, their Heinz College for Information Systems and Public Policy, the University of Michigan's Ford School, the University of California, Berkeley's Goldman School, the Princeton University School of Public International Affairs, Harvard's Kennedy School, and then also the University of Washington Evans School. And I've put 2 asterisks here, one next to Carnegie Mellon and one next to University of California. The asterisk next to Carnegie Mellon indicates that we really try to push students towards this Junior Summer Institute host site if they are interested in data and how big data can impact public and global affairs. So if you have a student that is particularly data savvy or wants to be more data savvy to be able to use those skills in their policy analysis and in their policy making, I would say this would be a great opportunity to notify a student about. And then also in our partnership with the University of California, Berkeley, those that indicate preference for the Berkeley Goldman School program can also express interest in their law track. So if you have a student then that is thinking about pursuing public policy, international affairs, but also law, that's also a great opportunity for them. The way that the applications work in this regard is that when a student applies to the PPI Fellowship, they're asked to rank their preferences for the 6 different host sites if they are accepted. We ask that students not just go based off of name recognition alone, but also really kind of take the time to know what the unique characteristics of each program are. And we'll talk a little bit more about how students can gain that information either through our website or forthcoming webinars that we'll be having. So let's talk a little bit more about eligibility for the fellowship program. So we ask that all applicants be a junior of any major at a US-based undergraduate institution. So we define being a junior in that they're applying this year, the year before their penultimate year of study, during their penultimate year of study. So after the summer program, after the fellowship occurs, they should still be going back to that US-based institution for either 1 or 2 semesters as a senior. And the reason why we ask that students apply during their junior year and participate in the program during their junior summer is that students are going to learn a lot about these policy areas and maybe about skills that they want to continue to cultivate before they go to graduate school. And that gives these students an opportunity to take more classes in these desired areas during their senior year to continue to enhance their graduate school application. We ask that students have a commitment to being inclusive, compassionate, and visionary leaders in public service, public policy, or international affairs. Have a commitment to graduate education or to pursue public service. Maybe not necessarily the year after their undergraduate education, but in the within 5 years out of their undergraduate education. And then also have a background, identity, or lived experience that aligns with the mission and vision of PPIA. International and undocumented students are highly encouraged to apply. Unlike other fellowship programs in public service, we do not require that students have formal documentation status or be domestic. So again, international and undocumented students can apply. We do ask during the application process if a student is a citizen, but we do not ask about their undocumented status if they are undocumented. The reason why we ask for this information is because if the student is accepted, we work with specific host sites to ensure that those students can participate in the fellowship program. And so we have partnerships with certain universities that are able to help us ensure that all of these students obtain the same seamless and stellar support over the course of the summer. In 2024, for the 2024 fellowship cycle, we had just under 1,400 students apply. We selected 150 fellowships that are just now, either if they haven't finished their junior summer institute, they're coming up on the last week or two. And so just note that we have about a 10% acceptance rate for the fellowship program. And if you want to learn more about our current fellows and their demographics and where they're coming from across the globe, you can learn more about that at our website on the PPIA program blog. And so here, just wanted to give a little bit more context to the fellowship application. We try to have a pretty straightforward, fairly easy fellowship application. We recognize that students most likely will be completing this themselves. However, if you are helping a student navigate this application process, just wanting you to know about these application deadlines and components. And so this year, the application opens on Tuesday, September 3rd for the summer 2025 fellowship cycle. And the application closes Friday, November 15th. We normally tell students that the application will close on November 1st. But this year we are extending that deadline formally to the November 15th deadline. So just if you recognize a little difference in that date, just know that this is a little different for us this year. And then we have our application components. We ask for basic demographic information. We ask for the student's resume. We ask for unofficial transcripts from any and all undergraduate and university, college, and community college transcripts that they may have. We will be asking for a recommendation. We are currently finalizing whether or not this will be a recommendation letter or a recommendation checklist, but we will be sure to have that finalized before the application opens. We'll be asking for verification of financial need, and then also for 3 500-word essays. And one 500-word essay will be essentially a diversity statement as to what may have occurred in the student's personal life, or what they've experienced, or what they may have seen that has inspired them to pursue a career dedicated to public service. Outside of any seen or unseen identity that may be causing the student to pursue this career. We want to know more about what else is engaging them about a career in public service. So we have a why public service essay. And then we also have a final essay that really kind of culminates into why a student wants to pursue a graduate school education. And during the process of this, we'll have some webinars and open office hours for students to be able to get more clarification or technical assistance. And I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the presentation today. So what are the benefits for students who participate in the Junior Summer Institute? So students that are PPIA Fellows, they receive free summer study at one of our PPIA Junior Summer Institute host sites. Based on the host site, the eligibility to receive college credit for summer coursework. So we really encourage students to learn more about our host sites so that if receiving college credit is something that they need over the course of that summer to participate, that they then rank their choices for institute study accordingly. The eligibility to receive summer travel assistance, a summer stipend between $1,500 and $3,000, depending on the region that the student is participating in for their Junior Summer Institute. University housing with a meal plan, any books and related course materials for summer study, and then also GRE preparation and career guidance as an alum then of the program. One second. So students can learn more about our fellowship opportunity at 2 upcoming webinars that we will have. So if you have students that you think will be interested in this opportunity, by the end of next week, we should have these webinars up on our website ready for students to register for. The first one will be during the day on Thursday, September 26th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. And then the second one will be from on Tuesday, October 1st from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. So really trying to ensure that there are opportunities coast to coast for interested students to come and learn more about the program. As I said, registration links will be forthcoming. And during these webinars, students will learn more about the program, the application process, and more about our host sites so that they can make an informed decision about ranking the Junior Summer Institute host sites during their application process. Want to talk a little bit more about our alumni benefits, because I think this is really a big reason as to why students apply for the PPIA Fellowship. We currently have 63 top graduate schools of public and international affairs in the PPIA Consortium. You can learn more about these institutions by going to our website and clicking on the box on our homepage that says the PPIA Consortium Network. Students that are PPIA Fellows that complete the Summer Institute are then recruited by graduate schools in the PPIA Consortium. Students receive fee waivers when applying to the PPIA graduate schools. And then also, if a student is accepted to any of the schools in our graduate consortium, we require that school give the student a minimum of a one-time $5,000 scholarship to that participating university. However, one of the great things about the program is that fellows often receive half to full tuition upon admission to a school participating in the graduate school consortium. And students can learn more about the Junior Summer Institute, the application process, and also these benefits on our website by going to ppiprogram.org, clicking on our programs, and then clicking on the PPI Fellowship tab. The next thing I just quickly wanted to focus in on are public service weekends. If you have students that maybe they missed out on the opportunity to apply to the PPI Fellowship, or maybe they're earlier on in their academic career, this is a great opportunity for students to get a quick deep dive into what does it mean to have a career of public service? What does it mean to study public policy, international affairs? And also, what am I looking for in a graduate school? So these are 3 full days of conference-style programming hosted at a university partner, and each weekend centers on a theme, and the theme normally is a play on the strengths of the participating public service weekend university. And so during this time, if a student participates, Students will learn leadership skills, expand their network, and gain essential professional development. They'll learn about careers and education opportunities in public service. And then also, it's a great opportunity to do all this learning within an equitable environment. We recognize a lot of the times that students don't have the means to go out and visit universities. So it's a great way to have all of their conference meals and other accommodation support provided by the university so that these students can continue to be the best advocates for themselves and become the most informed in their graduate school search process. Some of the highlights about these public service weekends is that a lot of them focus on group projects. So we just finished up a public service weekend at the LBJ school at the University of Texas. And I know Brittany and I are both alums. And we've had students at those public service weekends work together to provide public testimony to alumni, not only of PPIA, but other public sector leaders and elected officials. And so it's a great way for students to be able to uh, practice their sound research skills, their public speaking skills, but also know, like, how do I put together a leave behind if I'm going to give public testimony? And how do I actually deliver public testimony? And then having those elected officials deliver feedback to those individuals in a safe environment. So then those students can take those skills beyond the public service weekend and be advocates on their campus or in their own communities. I know that Carnegie Mellon also does a policy hack where they'll present a problem and the students will need to come up with a solution and then present to their peers. And so if students are interested, I know that we have a couple of more public service weekends that have applications out for this summer and fall. And so if you have students that are interested in this type of opportunity now, just know that they can go ahead and look on our website to apply to these opportunities. Similar to the Junior Summer Institutes, our weekends have similar eligibility. So we just ask that students are undergraduate students or recent postgrads that studied at a US-based institution, interested in a career dedicated to public service. Some of our partners may limit eligibility to region or to grade level. So for example, schools on the East Coast or on the West Coast may regionally have restrictions on who can apply, either based on the state that the public service weekend or the region the public service weekend is operating in. And they may also have restrictions on grade level, but just know that most of these opportunities are open to all current undergraduate students and recent postgrads. We also ask that students attend the entire weekend of programming if accepted. So just let them know that if they do plan on applying, to go ahead and hold that weekend, because in order to receive any other types of benefits of participating in the weekend, the student needs to be present the whole time. And then we just ask that student has the ability to communicate how attending a public service weekend will impact their journey in public service. Similar to the Junior Summer Institute, the application is basic demographic information, their resume, and unofficial transcripts. And then we do ask that these students write 2 500-word essays, because sometimes there are constraints on how many spots we have for these weekends, and we need to make selections accordingly. So we ask students how their personal identities or lived experience has encouraged them to explore a career in public service, public policy, or international affairs. And then also, as an emerging change maker, what is a policy issue that they're striving to impact or influence, and how participating in the public service weekend will give them clarity in achieving this goal. And again, students can learn all about this on our PPI website by clicking on the programs tab and then selecting which program they're interested in. PPI staff, we are here and available to answer any and all of your questions. You can send us an email. Our email is ppia.office@ppiaprogram.org. Again, you can also go to our website. And then my personal email, if you ever need to get a hold of me personally, is just delgado@ppiaprogram.org, and I will leave that in the chat for us. Awesome. But what I'm going to do then is open it up now to questions. And I see that there are some questions in the chat. And so let me go through these real quick, and then we will open it up for the rest of the audience to ask questions. So someone from Colby College is asking how you might prepare students for the fellowship from their first year in college. Specifically, how might students pull their academic offerings, extracurriculars, research, and term experience? Okay. So one of the big things that we find about students applying to the PPIA Fellowship is that across the board, the students are stellar, right? They're going to have great academic experience. They're going to have great academic transcripts. They're going to be go-getters on their campus with great extracurricular opportunities or having participated in research. They might have also been doing community internships or community advocacy, organizing, or other types of community programming. One of the things that we really feel that makes for a great PPIA fellow is ensuring that the student knows how to best talk about their experience. And so a lot of times we find that students are like, yeah, I want to impact the world. I want to impact either policy domestically or policy at an international level, but they don't know particularly how to voice their why. And students that do know how to voice their why tend to do very well in the selection process, both for the PPI Fellowship at a Junior Summer Institute, and then also at a for a public service weekend. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to stop sharing my screen and share a resource that I've been sharing out. There is a great resource out there for students called the Public Narrative Workshop. And this was started by a Professor Marshall Gantz over at Harvard. And it really it is a workshop to help individuals not only figure out their why, but how to bring other people along with them in their why. And this is based off of research done off of community organizing efforts done by Cesar Chavez and also during the 2008 Barack Obama presidential campaign. But I'm posting here in the chat a worksheet that you can do with your students to ensure that they can accurately and successfully communicate their why and why it is they want to pursue what they're doing or why it is they want to bring other people along on that journey with them. It's a great exercise for students that are preparing for any type of personal statement. At PPIA, we do some webinars and workshops for students on this every once in a while, so you can also keep your eyes out for additional programming there. Let's see. Let's see, Kelly, I see your question about offering tips for advising students on the required essays. I hope that what I just shared helps. Again, a compelling essay, I think starts with the purpose, but really dives into that personal experience. We want to get to know that student as a person, right? And what's really making them tick and what's really making them want to dedicate their careers to public service. The rest of the application will speak for itself. So if they have stellar academics, if they have a stellar resume, in terms of that is able to communicate the work that they've been doing in their communities, I would say that's a really great opportunity then for the student to use that essay to communicate their why, and then what they hope to do in the years and in the months following the experience. We're looking for those innovators, those dreamers, those visionaries, and if the student can successfully communicate that vision and how participating either in a fellowship or a weekend will aid that vision will go a long way. I have a question here about the PPIA consortium. So PPIA, when I mentioned that we have 63 schools in the PPIA consortium. So PPIA is able to do the work that we do because we have over 60 universities that share our vision and mission. These are universities, these are graduate institutions that, like PPIA, understand that there is a gap for students from oppressed or underrepresented backgrounds in leading at the top levels of public service, international affairs, and in public policy. And so these students help, these institutions help support the work of PPIA year in and year out. And in our work together, we want to ensure that our graduate students are able to find a home at one of the schools in our consortium. And so we direct our students then to seek graduate student opportunities with those schools that support us and with those schools that share our values. Um, so there's no cutoff on the number of, so I have a question here about cutoff on the number of applicants per school. There's no cutoff. We want to ensure that any and all applicants that you may have that are interested should apply, and there's no cutoff rate for acceptance. We collect school information so that we can send that information back to the school once a student has been accepted, but we don't have quotas or any type of acceptance criteria per school. It's a holistic process, and we want to ensure that students are able to apply, whether or not they're being supported by a university advisor in this process or not. One of the things that I will mention is that if you're we did a really robust announcement campaign this year, and so if you want to look and see if there are any students in your region or at your university that have previously been accepted, you can go to Google News and type in PPIA Fellowship and your university, and a lot of the times the students will show up. So two things. So I'm getting a question about how we engage alumni. And so one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is that because we are working with students from underrepresented backgrounds and try to make this as equitable as a process for them as possible, we tend to build a lot of social capital with these students, and we pride ourselves then on being able to be additional advisors for students, not only during their undergraduate years, but also during their graduate school application process, during their graduate school study, and then also during their careers. And so we have alumni chapters all over the United States that work with our students once they become alumni to continue to support them, and then also to ensure that we're still cultivating and reaching out to universities to let advisors like you all know about this process. And so if you at any of your universities would like either myself or one of our alumni to come, one of our trained alumni to come and talk about the experience to your students, just drop us an email. We'd be more than happy to set up something virtual or to get myself or one of our alumni out there so that they can get an in-person presentation to your target audience. When do we recommend students crafting their application? So I would say that students most likely can complete the demographic information in the application within probably 30 minutes to an hour. Where the most time is going to be involved is ensuring, one, that the student has a resume that adequately identifies all of their relevant activities relating to public service. And so if you have a student that's already thinking about applying, I would go ahead and get them contacted with your university career services department so that they can have that resume reviewed if they'd like. The next part is if the student has attended multiple institutions, just making sure that they're able to pull all of those unofficial transcripts. We work on the honor system, so we don't ask for official transcripts at any part in our process. Sometimes, recommenders do need multiple pings, whether or not they're writing a letter or they're doing a checklist. So making sure that students, I would say, start the application, I would say a month early, so that they have time to workshop their essays either with yourself or with their peers, and that they're able to also seek the recommendation that they think is going to be most beneficial in communicating why the student would be stellar for the fellowship. I would say, students may have a really stellar academic reference or a really stellar organizational reference, either from an internship. We are not looking for one over the other. We just want we just want a recommender that can talk to the I would say the passion that the student has, their values, and also their ethic to succeed in this space. Let's see, is it difficult for our fellows to get into grad school? Absolutely not. I would say that PPI fellows are some of the most sought after fellows in the graduate school ecosystem for public service, public policy, international affairs. We also want to ensure that students have choice, and that's why we compile the graduate school consortium. And so we really pride ourselves in that these students really at the end of this process, get their pick of graduate school. One, because schools know that they have the merit because they've gone through the PPI fellowship process, which is a rigorous academic fellowship. And then also because these students can really communicate what it is that they're trying to do when going into graduate school and how that experience is going to transform their career. Let's see. What type of student thrives as a PPI fellow? I think that this is a couple of different things. I think it's those students on your college campus who have been instrumental in, student organizations or student clubs, maybe even residential halls, right? Students that have that leadership experience. Or students that are taking part in different clubs that have a policy or a social justice slant. Maybe these students are on different academic teams or on the debate team. So these are students that are not only excelling in their academic work, but they're also choosing to be part of a campus community. One of the amazing parts of the PPI Fellowship is the community that we cultivate. As I mentioned, we have 6,000 alumni all across the United States, all across the globe. These alumni keep in contact with each other over the years. I was talking to alumnus the other day, 20 years out, still talks to their fellowship cohort every week. And so they support one another, and we're really looking for people that want to be part of a learning community, that want to really support one another to go after those dreams and those visions of success that they have for one another. I would also say that this could be for like a student who maybe has struggled academically, right? Students from these backgrounds tend to sometimes, and many oftentimes, struggle in their academic careers, but they also might be thriving in clubs or in extracurriculars at your college campus. And maybe they can also really articulate why they want to impact the policy ecosystem because of a lived experience or a seen or unseen identity. And so I would say, let's not write these students off either. These are amazing candidates, and this might be just the experience of intensive summer study that the student needs to get that footing. Maybe they've taken economics a couple times, calculus or statistics a couple times, but because of the other coursework, weren't fully able to digest that coursework. And so this is an opportunity for us to really ensure that those students get that firm footing. If a student completes the fellowship program, we 100% endorse them then to go on to any graduate school, because we know that they'll thrive, because we have 45 years of a true and tested model. So if any student at any point needs help with the application, they can email our office email, the one that I gave to you all, ppia.office@ppiprogram.org. There's also a smaller one I can give you. It's just office@ppiprogram.org. We're in the process of changing all the links over to this one. They both direct to the same inbox. Students can ask us any question at any time. We'll be holding those webinars, and then during those webinars, we'll be talking about when we'll have open office hours. We normally, during the application process, put aside 2 full Fridays to ensure that any students that are needing additional assistance can pop into a Zoom meeting with us, and we can ask any questions. There's 3 of us on staff. I've been a university advisor before. Michael Paniagua has been a university advisor before. There are operations manager, and then Nicole Butler, who's our communications manager, is also a former PPI fellow. And so we have great expertise who are then able to guide students through any questions they may have during the application process. But I would say that students probably struggle most with the essay. And so if you have students that are really kind of thinking about what their why is and how they can best communicate that in any application, we see a lot of students where the PPIA fellowship may be their first big national fellowship that they get. And I think because of the opportunities that we give to work with those students, to provide the technical assistance, to provide the workshopping, these students end up having really stellar applications that they're able then to utilize aspects of for additional public service or international affairs fellowships that they may go after, including like the Pickering or the Wrangell or the Truman. How do candidates know which JSI site is right for them? We hear a lot from students during this process. I would say if a student is accepted to a public service site, it was the one that was meant for them. And so while we give students the opportunity to rank the different sites in relation to what they are currently studying or what they may be currently interested in, we often find that that students figure out a lot about themselves over the course of the summer. And so while we want students to research the other JSI sites, and we'll provide, as we get closer to the webinars, we will provide a succinct overview of the benefits of each of the sites and what they focus on. And during our webinars, we will go over that information specifically. So if you have a student who you think is already very well in their wheelhouse of knowing what it is that they want to accomplish policy-wise, that'd be a great place for them to learn that information. But for students that are just trying to, learn more during this process, I would say kind of think about like, what kind of experience are they looking to have? Are they looking to have a big college experience? Are they looking to have a smaller experience based on maybe where they're at undergrad? Are they looking to be in a different region, right? Are they looking to study at a university that might have a different focus? And so these are all things that we can talk to the students about as we finalize that information for the next fellowship round. But these are great questions, and I'm happy to answer any more if anyone wants to add either to the chat or if anyone wants to come off of mute. Also want to ensure that if there's anything that I can provide clarification on from the original from the original presentation, I'm happy to do so as well if anything's still unclear. Awesome. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Brittany, but again, my name's Esteban Delgado. If I can be of any assistance, please send me an email. My personal email is delgado@ppiprogram.org. And thank you so much for being partners with us in this really amazing program as we seek to catapult and catalyze success for students to impact domestic and global change. So Brittany, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Esteban. It's always a pleasure having the PPIA team speak to our advisors. So just really want to thank you for joining us today. I know the advisors really appreciate it as well. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I look forward to welcoming y'all back for the next APSIA Advisor webinar in August. More information to come. Have a great rest of your day, y'all.